Yes, good morning, everyone.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah, good morning. Good morning. Let us exercise a little bit of time while we await the delegates to be present. All right, the session will be kicking off very soon, and there is going to be a presentation of for this particular session. And if you want to get the presentation, you can after the session go to YouTube, and then you'll be able to access the presentation. All right. In the meantime, everyone on WhatsApp, kindly mute your mic. Kindly mute your mic if you're on WhatsApp. Kindly mute your mic if you're on WhatsApp. Kindly mute your mic so that the noise will not interfere. All right. Thank you. I've muted everyone. Thank you so much. I've muted everyone. There's a lot of background noise coming through, so I've muted everyone to ensure that we don't have interference in the recording. All right. My name is Adeni Shuremi, and I'll be handing over to Mr. Omosonjo Kodri. If they can hear me, can you hear me, Mr. Kodri?
Yes, Mr. Adeni, I can hear you very well.
Beautiful, beautiful. I don't know. Will this be a good time for our moderator to join? Where is the moderator?
Yes, the link has already sent to him this morning.
Bluetooth mode.
All right, that's fine. That's fine. That's fine. I can see Yunus here. I have just added him to the call.
Yes, that is the moderator. The state PRO.
All right, beautiful.
You're welcome.
All right. So I think I should hand over to him right now. Would that be good?
Of course.
All right. Welcome, Mr. Yunus. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, good morning. Good morning, Mr.
Yes.
Adeni Shuremi.
Yes. Good morning, sir. Good morning, sir. How are you doing today, sir?
The directorate of our great NYC and Ogun State. It is my pleasure. It's my pleasure joining you this morning for this wonderful session that will be engaging our youth on how they can be making money on cocoa, cashew, oil palm in Ogun State. You will agree with me that Ogun State, we are blessed with fertile lands that are good for farming. In Imekwa for local government, their major work before this generation happened to be cocoa and cashew something. But this our Gen Z generation, as it is somehow, but I'm hopeful that with this initiative, with this program, many of us will be able to see the reasons why we must go back to farm. As we, the southern Nigerian, depending on the northern Nigeria for survival challenge to us here. So I believe that we take it up again to sensitize our youth across the vertical and horizontal development of Ogun State. So thank you very much, Mr. Adeni, for your time. Thank you very much. We sincerely appreciate that. Likewise, Commissioner Obasanjo Kodri, the director, thank you for getting a scholar of repute that also wants to contribute to humanity. So I'm glad to be here this morning, And I know that by the end of this program, I'll go back to our farm and see what I can do on that our cocoa that is lying down there.
Of course.
Because the so-called Ohori and has taken over our farm. So with this program,
Hmm.
I'm hopeful to learn more. Likewise, Mr. The state population, I'll be.
All right.
Comrade Sojo, please unmute yourself. Okay.
All right.
They have done that. I've done that.
All right. I'll be posting the agenda that was sent I earlier. I'll be posting it on the comment section if that's fine. All right. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, of
Comrade,
course.
Yes, I'm with you.
we
Yeah.
currently have 5 people on the WhatsApp platform, and they are currently active there. And then, of course, we currently have about 4 people online as well, currently following us right now, live. So, I guess what is I'll be posting the agenda on the comment section so everyone can see the agenda that will be going on through the event. I hope that's okay on Commodore Obasanjo.
Of course, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay.
All right. Okay. All right. So I've posted that. Uh, I think so. Introduction had been done, I guess, and the next thing based uh, on the next point of agenda is a welcome address, and I think you're taking that. All right. Ahmed Quadri.
Build the youth. Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Adeni Shoremi. And I appreciate my gallant comrade, Comrade Yunus Abdul Fattah, the state PRO of the National Youth Council of the state chapter. I want to thank you for your immense contribution to make this event possible. So on that note, I say a very big thank you to my state chairman as well, Comrade His Youthfulness, Comrade Oloye Shoremi Akolawole. I thank you so much. And on that note, I thank all the State Executive Council as well. I must appreciate this for this opportunity given to me as the Director of Agri Development, National Youth Council of this chapter. I welcome you all to this very important meeting with a primary objective and exchanging ideas and agreeing on a roadmap on how to resolve the situation we find ourselves as a nation, where we spend huge amount of money to import items which could be produced locally, thereby exporting jobs to other countries at the detriment of our own local industry. For instance, the current situation of oil palm industry, the palm oil tree, as we all know, is the most productive vegetable oil crop in the world. While the fruit is needed to produce crude palm oil for cooking and industry uses, the nuts can be converted into food, the cake into animal feeds and fertilizers. while there is also an increased usage in the new areas such as the biofuels. On this note, we present to you the youth of Ogun State in general, where we have about 20 local branches of the National Youth Council. We present to you a topic, a discussion that will facilitate us, that will promote us to open our eyes into what can fetch us good money, a legit money, even uh, more legit than what our youth are doing now, which they call Yahoo Yahoo. So we want to open our eyes to see that there are so betterment in agriculture. So on this note, I present to you an award-winning agribusiness expert, Mr. Adeni Ishoremi, the CEO, MD Movers Limited. So we welcome you. On this note, we welcome all the youth in the state across the 20 local governments of the state. So on this note, I welcome you all and I welcome the guest speaker, Mr. Adeni Ishoremi. Thank you very much for the time being given to me.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Comrade Quadri, sorry. I think it will take a little bit of time to get used to the whole Comrade part. And also, Comrade Yunus, thank you for your time. Thank you for the opportunity you guys have given to me to talk about this opportunity that lies in the agricultural sector. And I would be running through it. I've got the little slide prepared, presentation prepared to facilitate a good learning opportunity. Of course, I already said that we have about 5 people on the WhatsApp platform listening to this session simultaneously while we are here at the moment. And what we're talking about typically is how to get up to 500% return farming cashew, cocoa, and oil palm in Ogun State. As Reginus pointed out initially, Ogun State is blessed particularly because of its diversity in investment opportunity. Right, it has a lot of opportunity that you could think about, whether you're in within the agricultural sector or outside the agricultural sector. Right, recently I just discovered that oil, Ogun State is part of the Dahomey Basin, that which makes it one of the most lucrative states for that. The federal government is trying to bring Ogun State that all three things that thrives in Ogun State, right? There are hundreds and thousands of acres that are currently having this particular commodity right now going on it. And it's very, very important that we know that even as we go through this session, right? You have to pick what is yours, the opportunity that belongs to you. You have to pick it from this session. It's very, very important so that you are able to see insight where there's no insight, right? People that are in this business don't need convincing, right? Particularly people that have stayed in it for a duration of, let's say, 6 to 10 years, don't need convincing why it is a great money spinner. It's only people that are in fresh that might need any of those interferences. So, going forward now, we'll be going forth in this topic. The first thing I want to start with is that perennial cash crop is Nigeria's number one agricultural, foreign exchange, and export-oriented cash points, are accounting for over 70% of the 1.323 trillion proceed of export in 2023. So in 2023, Nigeria did some business. Now, I'm not even talking about our consumption as a country. I'm talking about what we even export. Out of the abundance of your of your heart, your mouth speaks, right? So I want to relate that with out of the abundance of whatever it is you produce, you export, right? Now, whether or not your country has eaten enough of what you export or not, now that's a debate for another day. But in terms of export last year, 1.23 trillion of what of agricultural products was exported, right? And that's a very significant number of exports that is out there. And agriculture brought about that export, and 70% of those exports are rooted in perennial cash crop. So, of course, today what we wanted to see is the opportunity that alone avails you, and how you yourself can stop being a spectator and become an action point in that system, right? Now, I'm not saying all of that money is for profit. No, right? A good chunk of 80% of that money is going to be probably a cost of doing the business entirely. But even 20% being a profit for the individual people in that business, it's a whole lot, right? And that is it. So if we're exporting 1.23 trillion and 70% of them is cash crop, let me give you another insight. 50% of all of this money, I promise you, is from cashew and cashew, cocoa, and oil palm, right? Proceed. 50% of it goes to those particular products. Now, this particular product now have that much exports. Imagine what Nigeria itself are consuming. Let me give you another fact that oil palm right now in Nigeria, we don't export so much of it because the demand locally is too high. It's so high that we're importing oil palm products from Malaysia, from Indonesia. That's how much demand lies in oil palm as a commodity in itself. So now, if all of these are out there, then how do you participate in it? How do you get value from it? I will try my best to look into what are the opportunities that entirely lies in this system for you. If you've got any question before we get to the part where there's questions, you can always use the comment section of the YouTube channel to ask a question. And if you are on the WhatsApp platform, you can, at the end, when the opportunity and time for question and answer comes up, you can use, you can unmute and take permission to ask your question. But right now, I don't want you to lose any thought of your questions in the middle because you believe that we are currently not collecting questions. You can always leave a comment, as that would be sufficient enough. And then at the end of the program, we would attend to those questions. Now, moving on, right? We'll be looking at what highlights we have to talk about in this session, right? We've got the fundamentals about cocoa as a business. We've got the fundamentals about cashew as a business. We've got fundamental about oil palm as a business. And then we're going to be talking about challenges that prevent gains in farming generally. And then we'll talk about understanding how to profit from investing, right? Because if you don't understand these things, it's just going to be half-baked knowledge, and you don't own or hold on to half-baked knowledge to succeed in something that you may or may not have expert skills in, right? And these are the 5 core process to selling this topic to you guys right now, to bringing up this thing and sharing your interest to taking part in the action of producing this crop, right? The fundamental about cocoa as a business, right? We'll start with cocoa. So there are a couple of reasons why starting a cocoa farm business can be important in Nigeria, particularly. There's the economic benefits, right? All of them have economic benefits, so I'll talk about them differently. There's the economic benefit, right? Cocoa is a major export. Even as a last year, it is number 1, right? And it brought in quite a number of gain to the country, And honestly, you see, with cocoa, there is from it. It's not just cocoa as a product, right? There's cocoa butter, there's the cocoa, which is the powder, that's the pod, the seed itself, and which can, of course, can be grounded to powder and the rest. Now, there's that one. Then there's the cocoa butter, the one that looks like they use it for cosmetics and the rest you grab. And then there's the whole drink that is being brought out of cocoa. There are drinks that you can do out of it. But you see, the chocolate industry is built on the foundation of cocoa as a commodity. The whole chocolate industry, right, is built on the foundation of cocoa as a commodity. And this year, surprisingly, cocoa went as high as almost close to 12 to 20 million, between 12 and 20 million per tonnage this year. I don't know what happened this year. Something happened, and it's totally abnormal. It's not normal, right? Cocoa doesn't get this high per tonnage, right? But this year, I don't know what happened. Cocoa got as high as between 12 and 20 million per tonnage at different points, right? And that is a lot. This means for a normal, right? For a normal farmer. Let me break it down. If you want to get tonnage of cocoa in the fifth, 6th year or 7th year, you're looking at between 1 acre and 1.5 to 2 acres, depending on how you space your cocoa farm, right? There are a lot of things that determine the number of products your farm can generate, or the tonnage of farm you can expect on your farm, right? So from 1.5 acres to 2 acres, you get a tonnage, one tonnage of cocoa, depending on how your farm, your planting, spacing, and population is done. Now imagine that you were lucky enough, right, to have cocoa lying in your store as at the time that this thing it's 12 to 20. It means that at that particular time, 1.5 to 2 acres would have given you 12 to 20 million naira. Now, as I said, it's not a normal scenario. It's one of the abnormal periods in cocoa farming, right? The sector just went wonderful. And before you know it, the price jumped up. And before you know, so bad supply chain issues, the major issues, and see, some countries that once they have issues with cocoa, or they have one or two problems with cocoa, it affects the global value chain. You see, Cote d'Ivoire and Ghana, combinedly, they both account for close to 50% of the whole cocoa value chain, right? That's Ghana and Ivory Coast, right? They all both account for 50% of all the cocoa that's being produced globally. And so if these two particularly have any issue whatsoever with cocoa farming, it actually affects the global supply chain, right? Now, Nigeria used to be a major player in cocoa business as far back as the early 80s, early 70s, early 90s. We were a major player, like top three players in the world, right? Just the same way Ivory Coast and Ghana is holding the world to ransom right now. Nigeria used to be that country that hold the world to ransom, where everybody wants Nigeria's cocoa industry to be stable, because if it's not stable, then the whole world is going to suffer for it, right? And that's it. And you see a lot of companies coming into the country to build on this cocoa value chain. However, we lost that opportunity after a while, right? After a while, we lost that opportunity through carelessness, through divestment, through bad policy, and many other challenges that I'm going to talk about in a short while. And before you know, we became a spectator in the game, right? And we lost that. Right now, we still account for a fractionable percentage, little percentage, however, and we still have a lot of farmers that make revenue from cocoa. Now, these economic benefits can change the life of any farmer. And I'm saying any farmer. Any farmer's life can literally change by participating or farming cocoa, right? And the best part about this is each year there's new improvements here, new improvement there, that is making cocoa more easier to cultivate, right? The duration of revenue more shorter, right? Before, in the past, when there was no improved varieties, sometimes cocoa take as long as 5 years for you to start earning your reward from cocoa as a business. But in recent time, more variety, more improved varieties, we've started seeing bigger seeds, right, which contribute to the cocoa that eventually they grind into powder, and then they make whatever they want to make out from. And we've also seen improved varieties that matures in as low as 2 3 years. That takes the cocoa away from what used to be the trend in the old days, which is you wait for 5 years before your cocoa farm comes, we start begin giving you seeds, begin to give you products, right? That's a far distant cry from where we used to be, all through improved varieties, improved yield, and all of that. So it means that this is a better time for any farmer to consider cocoa. And to be candid, why it grows, it can grow in a number of states in Nigeria. You see, Ogun State is primarily a very, very vantage area for this product. And I'm saying this largely because look at the nearness to export, right? You want to go close to Lagos, for example. Ogun State is that close to Lagos. And you don't put so much stress So I would make one or two adjustments to ensure that everyone can do well. And so to create applicable jobs, right? I want to apologize for my YouTube audience. My network glitched there and it was a bit difficult to get it back, but everything is back now, and I hope it doesn't glitch anymore to the end of the session. So I was before for the YouTube audience that just got back a recap. I was actually referencing the challenges Ghana had with the cocoa producers globally. And I was trying to make it reference point that you see, there was a lot of research that proved that value was being exported out. Of course, they were getting money for this raw cocoa product that they were actually selling. There was money coming in from it, but it was a rip off for Ghanaians because for a country that produces that much cocoa, you expect that certain job opportunities should be available, should be abundant. But this job is not abundant because they are being exported because anywhere you build a factory, you build a, how will I call it? You build a processing plant in, right? You have to employ people to work in those processing plants, and by doing that, there are so much job that could have been created in Ghana. And then people pick this product from that raw material state to process states. Then from that finished state, some people buy it again and convert it to other things as well. So all of these processes within the value chain create jobs at different points in time. And you see, Ghana government was done having these jobs leave their shores to foreign countries. So if you're going to want to do trade with Ghana's cocoa, you want to buy Ghana's cocoa, then you have to be willing to set up a plant in Ghana to process it into a value-added product. We are no more selling raw cocoa anymore. And they know they can't do it all at once. So they placed a timeline on how they're going to reduce it over time. So first of all, they started strangulating the tonnage of cocoa that could be exported, right? And then they started limiting it. And then the goal is that at a point in time, they totally altogether stop that whole culture of exporting cocoa products, right? And that is what is how will I call it now? It's prevalent in Ghana as a country. So Nigeria, right, is also in this space. We encourage the export as well to leave our shores. And by doing that, we are losing a lot of opportunities in terms of how much job we can create. Not only job as well. If you go to a supermarket today and pick up a chocolate bar, right, you're going to be seeing the chocolate bar for as high as close to 20,000, 30,000, 40,000. Some are even primed so well that a chocolate bar could be as costly as 100,000, right? And you can even belong to see some cheap ones for as low as 5,000, right? Chocolate bar, depending on the kilograms or ounce or whatever, right? The summary there is if you bring 5,000, if I take 5,000 naira today into Osun State or Ogun State or Ondo State, and I want to buy cocoa as a pod, I know what they're gonna give me in pod, right? I'm gonna get some quantity of pod. I don't want to even give them to give me seed. I know the seed they will give to me, right? And if I decide to dry this seed, pasteurize it or sterilize it using it, and then grinding it and then make sure that it's fine. Before you have cocoa powder with me, I'm gonna have hot chocolate with that seed, and I'm gonna have the value much more than what I'm gonna buy in the supermarket, right? But that is how it is. They buy the raw material, they take it to their place, they convert it to a ready-made product, and they bring it back to you. That's it, right? And then you've lost value. You're paying higher value for imports, and that's it. No, it's no wonder that Nigeria for over 5 years have seen imports of agricultural commodity outpace exports back to back, right? Even though there was a significant increase in our exports in 2023 compared to 2022. 2022, we had around less than 600 billion naira in exports, right? And in 2023, we had 1.2 right trillion naira in exports. Now, even though that was the metric that we had, the reason why 2023 was significant was because naira was already devalued, right? Or at least a large part of the reason is the fact that naira had been heavily devalued, while dollar still remains relatively stable. And all of these things have made exports seem a great deal to many people, right? And that's the reason. If export the dollar was relatively stable, it might not have been that high. So this, what we need to see is that cocoa in itself, the opportunity it brings, economic benefit it brings is just extensive. But the beauty in it is localizing the production, localizing the processing, and ensuring that when we even have to sell and export these things, it should be a finished product so we can command better value for it. And for those that are producing it, the opportunities are quite endless. I've also talked about the job creation opportunity in cocoa as well. Now, there are some challenges there, and we're going to address few challenges in the farming cocoa down the line. But for now, we'll just move on to look at cashew as an opportunity business. But of course, I had this excerpts gotten from Global Market Insights, right, to give us a mind about what the global space of cocoa is talking about. The current market value for cocoa in 2022 globally is for $7.7 billion, right? So you understand how big the market is. It's a lot for $7 billion in trade happens of cocoa annually from different countries, right? And Nigeria is not getting enough of this. Actually, Nigeria actually got around 253 billion naira from cocoa. And if you're looking at that in our current exchange dilemma, right, it's not even up to $1 billion in dollar value, right? It's not even up to $1 billion in dollar value. That's roughly around $0.3 billion in value. So you can see that we're not even capturing I can't even say 1% of this value, right? We're not capturing 1% of this value. We're capturing less than 1% of this value. And that's the truth, right? And that's the truth. It's less than 1 billion percent of this value. We're not capturing any value in this number. So if we are making that much, look at 47.7 billion, 0.3 billion out of 47.7 billion, you can understand that Nigeria has a lot to go. And the annoying part there is this is a product that whenever you produce it, the market is ever ready. That's the beauty about cocoa, and that's what makes it so sad that we're not participating so much in it, right? Whenever you're ready, you have your products, the market is ever ready to buy. It's not a market that is always waiting for time and season before they buy what you're doing. You have it today, they are buying it today. That's how the market works. And this market is projected to even build to $68.6 billion, right? And it's growing at 3.6 annually. Now, cocoa bean segment market value that's the raw material itself is 16.6 billion out of for 7.7 billion. So you can see that those that are producing are not the one making the biggest money from the sector. Those that are producing the farm, those that are farming it, like, I'm not the one making the biggest money. It is those that are adding value to it, right? And that's very important that you actually understand that if you're going to cocoa farming, there has to be an opportunity to process that which you are investing your time into. It might not be easy, but of course, I'll talk about how to rally investment into cocoa or even any of these business we're talking about today, right? So fundamental about Cashew as a business, right? I'm just going to wrap around Cashew because that's another perennial project that Ogun State is poised to offer people as an opportunity, the youth and other members in the states. Now, also economic benefits. Cashew actually is a major source right now. It's number 3 on last year's highest, like even on the top 10, right? You'll see 2 products from cocoa in top 10 highest exported agricultural products out of Nigeria. Cocoa has about 2 slots there. There's a cocoa butter, there's a cocoa bean, right? Now, outside that as well, Cashew equally has 2 spaces there. There's the in shell and the shelled, right? Both of them also are on the map. That's why I said that out of all the product exported last year, 50% of those products were cocoa and cashew, right? And then oil palm, right? So cashew itself is also another major source of revenue. And I won't lie to you, if you've been to places like Ondo, some community in Ogun State, Ogun in Oyo State, Dekina, Ayangba in Kogi State. If you've been to these places, I can tell you that I don't need to preach to you the value of cocoa and cashew as a commodity, as opportunity. You naturally will see them flowing. As many of the old money in those regions are from cocoa and cashew, right? Particularly Ogumosho, Ogumosho is going to always stand out for me because I'm a graduate of Large Capital University of Technology. So I saw firsthand the power in cashew while I was schooling in Lautech, right? I saw the power of cashew as a product because you can see many adults, you can see many old fathers, you can see many aged individuals that are building great houses, using great cars, and you see great car parked in front of you. You see beautiful car parked in front of you, and then when the door opens, what you get to see is one old man, not old man per se, but when you've gone through life and life has gone through you, right? There's a way it affects your skin, right? There's a way it tampers with your physique generally, and some could say that, oh, this man has struggled in his life, like he has seen his own fair share of struggles, right? Yes, when you see those cars parked for you, and then they open the door, and you see this man come outside, and then when you talk about what they do, or you allow them, you stay close to them and hear what they do, and you express that all this. Cashew has gone down in Yoruba. They could do something like cashew yẹn ò tiẹ̀ lè ta kò ta lọ́dún yìí dáadáa. Ọ̀wọ́n tó fẹ́ ra yẹn wọ́n kàn pé price burúkú. That's a Yoruba statement for people are mispricing or pouring out inappropriate pricing for cashew per tonnage. And when you hear them speaking about these things and you're wondering that is it that lucrative? Yes, it is that lucrative, right? Because just like many perennial projects, once you get it to survive and reach maturity, then the money never stops coming in. That's the story of cocoa, oil palm, and cashew, right? The moment you can tend to it and help it get to maturity, then your success is guaranteed, and it's going to be yearly, right? The earlier days might be stressful for you, maybe the first 2-3 years, depending on the product you're going for, maybe stressful. But from the fourth, fifth year onward, then it becomes how will I call it, a walk in the park, and the blessings become very, very clear per time, right? And that is the benefit of cashew and cocoa in itself, right? It brings in billions of dollars to exports, right? Billions of dollars to exports. And Nigeria, accumulatedly in the past 5 years, had also benefited from that system largely, as much as possible. Now, rural livelihood. You see, one thing about this perennial cash crop is that it's not just about us. It's not about you. It's not about the investments. It's about the lives you touch, right? These products in every community where they are cultivated touches the life one way or the other, and that's the truth. They touch the life of everyone in those places one way or the other, and the rural livelihood is very, very important. You see, last year now, my mentor spent quite a lot of money trading cashew, and when we're trying to discuss and we're trying to trace where all of this value went to, it is the rural community, because then there's someone that's picking the whole nut. That person is paid every day, right? Some of them are even charging as much as per person, almost 2,000, 3,000 naira per day to pick cashew. Of course, they have a measurement that they use. Some of them earn as high as 2,000 per day, while some earn as high as 3,000 per day, while some earn as high as 1,500, 2,000 per day. Now, this is a fact I'm giving you for picking cashew, right? And so if that rural, there are usually women that pick this cashew, majorly women pick the cashew. Now imagine a woman averagely is able to pick cashew for 3,000 naira per day for 30 days, because during the cashew season, there's always picking almost every day, right? And there are many farms that are employing these women to come and pick there. Particularly when you go to Shaki, the part of Shaki, when you go in Shaki, the cashew producing part of Shaki itself. When you go there, there's so much cashew in those places that when people can pick cashew literally every day for 3 months. It's just that they'll be moving from farm to farm as much as possible. So, and that is what the whole opportunity within that space is all about. These women now, imagine them making 3,000. It changes a whole lot of things for these women, because in a month they are already looking at close to 80 to 90,000 naira worth of revenue. Now, in addition to whatever it is the husband is bringing into the household as well. So it improves rural livelihood. Now, outside that, as well about the farming, every year when you want your own tenure of cashew, you have, similar to cocoa as well, you have to do some activities. After, particularly if you've helped it to maturity, then there are other activities such as the clearing of the weed, the clearing of grass from time to time that you have to account for and not lose sight of. And it's very, very important that all these things are done on a timely basis. Now, all of this brings in value to the rural communities. Now, profitability in itself. Now, out of all cocoa, unlike cocoa, cashew has low maintenance, low maintenance. You can literally go a whole year and spend only less than 20,000 to maintain an acre of cashew, right? Cocoa actually costs more. Of course, the cost of buying a cocoa per tonnage is higher than the cost of buying a cashew per tonnage, cashew nut per tonnage. And also the cost of maintaining a cocoa farm per year is equally expensive than maintaining a cashew per year. So cashew benefits from the relatively low maintenance that comes from farming the stuff. And after many years of maturity, cashew still keeps giving you revenue. And the beauty there is Ogun State actually has a lot of land to farm these products. Ogun State land has all the opportunity I've explained in the while I was talking about cocoa. It has nearness to the export market, to the ports. It has nearness to major cashew processing companies in Nigeria. So, who are the people processing cashew in Nigeria? Well, I can list them for you. They are not that much anyway. So, but they are strategic. The key people there that processes cashew in Nigeria, we have Olam. Olam presses cashew in Nigeria, right? We've got Valenti presses cashew, and it's in Ogun State. We also have Julius Berger that is into cashew processing as well. 1 minute, please. Sorry, yeah, I'm back. As I was saying, Julius Berger processes cashew as well, and it is located here in Ogun State. Well, not Ogun State per se, but a little between Ogun and Lagos State, because it's at Ekpe, and they still have operations that span into the that Ekpe side of Ogun State. So all these people are proximal, right? Valencia, Flamis also processes cashew as well. Then the only one that is very far, like is an outlier, is is it Agro Pro something? It's in Ilorin, Kwara, yes. And then he also does cashew processing as well, right? So the summary there is if it's export you want to export, Ogun State is vantage point because it's closer to the port. Now, if it's processing you equally want to process, it's equally vantage point because it's closer to major processors. There are about 3 processors there. Valencia is the biggest on that Lagos Ibadan Expressway. However, there are other ones in that same place as well. However, they are internalized, but Valencia is the major one there. So in case you're even looking at adding value, right, you're not wrong. Nigeria is already adding value. And that's why I said on the export, if you go through the 2023 agricultural export for Nigeria, you will see cashew on 2 parts of the top 10, right? There's one they call shelled and in-shelled. Those that are shelled and bagged are the processed ones. Why? The ones that are in shell are the ones that are not yet shelled. So, and these are what brings cashew nut is the biggest one spinner in cashew. However, cashew has about 10 other uses, right? There's a CNSL as a product which is used in that can be used as engine oil or petrochemicals alternatives, biofuels in themselves. And then when you look at the stadiums all over the world, you see that they usually use some paintings to do the tracks, right? Now, most of those paintings carry a cashew raw material, CNSL, right? There are other parts that is extracted from cashew. However, because Nigeria is not yet vast in it, we don't process those things because there are chemicals that have been extracted from cashew. Most of them are produced from India. But this is where the irony is. Nigeria is one of the biggest exporter to India. Like we export cashew a lot to India. Now, we don't export processed cashew. No, we export the raw one, a whole lot to cashew and Vietnam. Like for Nigeria's biggest export destination is Vietnam and India. Now, it's sad because these people now export to Germany, US, UK, Italy, and other important Netherlands and the rest. Now, the annoying part is Nigeria could directly be exporting straight to this market and not to Vietnam and India. If these are their final destination, we can directly export to them, right? We have Julius Berger that can help us ensure that our export to Belgium and the European market is clear. But as I said, there's still a lot of ways for us to go there. But I won't lie, starting the farm is the first step, right? Starting the farm is the step 1 in getting to that junction. If you have the farm, then you can now look into how you want to add value to it over time. Now, after having put mind to that, I don't want to waste a lot of time on cashew, right? As I still want to go into some other little details before the session ends. Let's go into oil palm, for example. Now, oil palm, as I said, our export in oil palm is not so much compared to the first 2 I talked about, right? The first 2 I talked about, their export is extensive. Cashew and cocoa, they've got extensive export value, right? But when it comes to internal value, oh Jesus, or whatever, internal value, God, oil palm is the king in that part. Internal value, oil palm is so high up there because the demand in Nigeria is scary, right? Nigeria demand for oil palm is scary. We have need of it for multiple value. We have a need of oil palm for multiple value, and there are extensive value we need oil palm for, right? From our soap industry, cosmetics industry, down to even consumption, food and beverages. There are just so many reasons why we need oil palm, and the demand is high. And I won't lie to you, we are not meeting it at all, right? I was hoping to put there are 2 major oil people or like oil company in Nigeria that actually makes with. We have got Presco and we've got Okomu oil. These two companies are listed on the Nigerian Stock Exchange. And the beauty about their business model as a focal point is last year, they both made billions in naira after tax, in profits, right? Profit after tax. They made, I think Okomu made over 30 billion from profit after tax last year alone. And it's only going to increase because, and I won't lie, these people, they have high desire to export. It's just that Nigeria has several policies that makes it difficult for you to export oil palm in the light of so much challenges in the country, right? You see two things that Nigeria tries their best in but cannot be easily exported, right? You see cassava, right, is one thing Nigeria produce the highest value in the whole world for, but we're not part of the top 3 exporters in the world, right? And we are the largest producer in the world, but we're never among the top 3 exporters in the world. Why? Because the local demand is so high. Same thing as well with oil palm, right? We used to be a major player too, just like cocoa in some, even cashew too. In 2012, Nigeria was the highest cashew producer in the world. From 2012 to now, we've lost our position. We're not even in the top 4 anymore. We're not even in the top 5. I think we're now in number 6 or 7, right? Just like that, just like cocoa as well, we've faced those challenges over time where we lose our position in a global market space. Similarly with those two as well, when you come to oil palm as well, there was a time we were the one saving countries like Malaysia and Indonesia from challenges with oil palm, right? We were the ones saving them. We were their export destination. We're not exporting to them. We're their import destination, right? We give them this oil palm for their own industries. However, just in a very little time, they came back and have relevance. They came back to have relevance. And this relevance was something that changed the game for them, right? And right now, we're buying oil from Malaysia, we're buying oil from Indonesia to supplement the one we are producing. That is not enough, right? Outside that as well, we're equally still buying their seedlings as well. While we were there claiming giant of Africa on oil palm, right? Indonesia and Malaysia were developing improved varieties, right? They were developing improved varieties that could improve the production of oil palm for them specifically. And this was something that was helping and improving outcome for them. And in a very short time, they became major producers globally. I'm sorry, just 1 minute. I think my network might have kicked everybody out of the call. Just 1 minute, please. I need to reconnect because there are about 15 people on the call that are connected to us. All right, I'm back. I'm sorry the network kicked me out just a while ago. So I'm on the part where the local demand is quite high, and because the demand is high, naturally, we don't export so much of it, but there's so much opportunity to make money from it. And Ogun State, to be candid, has enough opportunity on that line. We have a lot of oil palm resource. Last year, in one of our businesses, I was approached by a very important person, the president of Oil Palm Association in Ogun State, and he was interested in the opportunity of having to tidy up his farm so he can prepare himself for sales, and we helped him out on that. And when I met him, he's a very aged man. I met his son, but the man's an aged man. I was not discussing with the son. The son too is very old in age. He's not young, right? I was speaking with his son, and then he was telling me about the opportunities that lie in it, and how many people actually are doing oil palm in Ogun State. And I won't lie to you, I was awestruck because I didn't know there were that much people in the oil palm value chain in Ogun State, right? Which is, to me, a fundamental proof that beside even just the opportunity, there's a lot of cosmetic company in Ogun State that is into soap making and cream and the others, right, in Ogun State that could be leveraged, right? There are a lot of them in Ogun State that you could easily not even spend logistics money, because you see in the agriculture sector, logistics is big issue, right? People spend a whole lot of money on logistics, right? And that's why when you want to sell your products to the closed markets, you want to collect a purchasing order, you're always going to be asking them to give you FOB instead, right? Or to give you a contract where they handle the transport, you just bring the product to them, right? Or they pay you for the transport and bring the product to them. That's what people pray for, because if you have to account for logistics, it can literally dent your revenue of the whole project you grab, and that's what is there. So typically, if you're in Ogun State, you're proximal to these cosmetic companies, to these refining companies, and all of them, and then you're able to sell less. You see, there are a lot of oil producing, that's vegetable oil producing companies in Lagos and Ogun State. Sell them palm oil is still the cheapest form of oil extraction, after that and soya bean, and that's we all consume majorly oil made from palm oil. That's palm oil. We almost all our vegetable oil in the house are largely from palm oil, not from soybean oil, because soybean oil is a bit more costly to access than palm oil. So palm oil is the most popular one out there. Of course, there are many healthy oil out there, but the one in the Nigerian market is palm oil, right? That has been processed to bring out that refined oil. So as I'm saying, there's high demand. So if you produce it, you are certain to sell within Nigeria. You don't literally need exports to be profitable in oil palm at all. You don't need that. The demand is high. I won't lie to you. There are even people that actually pay you in advance before you start investing in your oil palm, and that's the truth, right? And there are even many business sides to oil palm. Even farming it alone, you don't even need to harvest it every year. Every year you can be renting out your farm every year for people to come and harvest and pay you. They'll pay you and they'll rent it. Whatever it is they gain from it is theirs. There's several business models in the oil palm value chain, and Nigerian government actively supports that value chain extensively through policy. As I said, export is not easy, not because the Okomo Oil and Presco don't want to export. They want to export. It's not as they don't want to. They really want to export, but they can't. At least they can't export it indiscriminately, because there are policies that prevent them from being able to do so. And it's very important that government supports this initiative, because by doing that, there's adequate supply within the country. And it's not in Nigeria. Many countries during the just as a last year when oil became very scarce, decided to internalize their oil. They didn't sell to other countries. Indonesia particularly stopped exports for a certain duration, just so that exports so local supply can improve, right? And so we need government support to ensure that a lot of things we do are beneficial to the local audience and local market, right? It's very productive, and it can give revenue year in, year out. And all you just have to do is maintain the farm, right? So I've given you guys the fundamentals about cocoa, cashew, and oil palm as a product. These three, I've given you guys fundamentals about the three of them. Now, how do you get 500% return? Because that is the key summary to why a lot of us are present, right? No, so before I touch how you get that money, because I'm going to do the calculation for you. And we didn't just give you that number to attract you to this workshop or webinar, right? It's actually a fact, something you can gain, right? And there's what we do is we don't see investment from a perspective of 6 months, 1 year. We see investment as a cumulative financial expenses or expenditure that is made on a particular commodity, and what the long-term opportunity from that commodity is, right? And so we are looking, we look at it, okay, in a 10-year margin, right? If you invest into this thing, what are you likely to get back, right? What can you get back from that opportunity? And that is how we see in opportunity, business opportunity, not something you just do and rush out. Agriculture is not a rush and rush out business model. And those that are profitable in it will tell you that for a fact. And that's why a lot of businesses in agriculture crashes early, right? Because they don't factor the fact that it's not a quick money scheme system as much as possible. Now, before we go into that, right, I want to show you the fundamentals about oil palm and how it has been diversified over time, right? So this is how oil palm has been used in Nigeria over the years, right? So in 2008, right, I'm just going to picture like that 2018 as a core point. A percentage of palm oil that goes to biodiesel, right, is around less than 1 million ton, right? But if you go take that straight down to 2018 rather, you can see how many tonnage, right, of that had gone into. So this is global value chain. I'm talking about even in Nigeria, right? We've started using it for biodiesel a lot. And what we are saying is that the consumption is going down. If anybody remember in 2022, early 2023, right? There was a lot of bad palm oil in the market, and really, really bad palm oil that were very, very toxic. You see, when you process palm oil, right, there's one you can consume and there's one you can't consume, right? There's some you have to throw away. There are some you have to use for other value or sell for soap making or any other thing. In 2022 and 2023, when the whole food insecurity started building up, some people were selling those ones for people to eat. Now, worst case scenario, people started adding chemicals to make it look real, right? And over time, what we are saying is that the percentage of palm oil that is being used for consumption is going down, 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 right? Why that of biodiversity is increasing more, more, and more. Of course, the sustainability agenda and climate change improvement is what got it to that point, right? But that's just a reference point so you can understand how the demand is increasing and what are the things that is pushing the demand up. Now, challenges that prevent gains in farming, right? Before we go down into the calculus part of what we are doing, right? What are challenges that prevent gains in farming, right? Limited access to capital and financing, right? Getting loan, I won't lie, and finding investors are very, very difficult. More so for new farmers. Particularly if you're not long in the game, it's difficult. Even for people that have been there for a while, I can tell you that it's not a in the park. I've been like just now for 9 years, actively, practically engaging it. It's not a stroll in the park, being in the sector. So I won't lie to you, it can be hard much more for new farmers or for new people that are coming in. Now, lack of modern technology and equipment to actually bring out the best in this whole system. So there's not enough equipment out there. For example, you want to tidy up your farm or you want to start a farm initially, there's not the equipment to do mechanization. And even when they are, because there's no good spare parts, repair system, all these things are preventing the adoption of modern technologies and equipment to improving farm. Now, the infrastructure too is bad. The road to some of our farms in Nigeria, some good, big, important farms are still bad, right? And those infrastructures are part of things that are discouraging people. Now, the weather and pest, for example, now tomato is Nigeria's new gold, right? What led to that? It's simple. Tomato became that way because we don't have a lot of research system that prevent disease and pests, right? We, of course, we rely heavily on the north to provide, particularly our vegetables to us, tomatoes and the rest like that. But we don't have a lot of system to help them prevent disease like the one that is currently ravaging them at the moment. That's led to tomato being a very expensive commodity in the south as well. So the very important part is that weather and pests has to be monitored to ensure that our products, what we do, succeed. You see, cashew is resilient, very resilient product. It's the biggest fear in the cashew farm is fire. Cashew does not like fire and it shows very fast. You see, other oil palm is the most resilient to nature's problem. Oil palm is the most resilient to nature's problem. No matter what the problem of the nature is, just try and protect your oil palm and let it reach 5-6 years maturity. Then you are almost safe from many challenges. Even if the farms start getting burnt, as long as you can find a way to solve it fast, almost all your oil palm will come back to life. And that's oil palm for you. Cocoa to also have a certain level of strength against natural challenges. But you see, cashew, it does not like fire at all. Even play fire, it does not like it. Right? So unpredictable weather sometimes can cause a fire outbreak in many farms. And that's something that you have to prevent. You create fire breaks and all of that. Now, outside that as well, limited knowledge and skill. A lot of people go into agricultural businesses without adequate knowledge, and it's something that is common, right? And when I mean adequate knowledge, a lot of people think a webinar like this alone is enough, is sufficient enough to just go and start. No, webinar like this is a Kickstarter for you. It's not what you require to go independently and go and do this farm. It's a Kickstarter to help you understand the interest of what you can gain from the system. That is what webinars like this are for. To help you see the opportunity so you can decide, okay, do I want to go into this? Do I want to do this as a business, right? That's what webinars like this are there for. But there's still a part where you have to get knowledge of how the day-to-day farming works. Challenges you will meet in the day-to-day farming. You need resources, you need groups or associations that you will relate with, right? You also need to learn to pay professionals to teach you more. Practically, theoretically, whatever it is you need to learn out, because there is no value you get for free that lasts long, right? It's the value you pay for or you pay something for, right? So you have to inculcate the habit of learning to pay value to get value, right? And that's how it works. So of course, while I do a lot of webinars in a month, even in a year, right? Oh, my footprint is over 50,000 at this point in webinar output in the past. I've been doing webinar. Next year, 2026 will become 10 years. I've been doing back-to-back webinars every year on agriculture for many people. And this is my 8 years of doing active webinars, right? So I've been teaching people how to succeed in farming for a very long time. And I can still tell you that this webinars does not replace practical guidance. You still need that at all points. So limited knowledge and skill is also a challenge that prevents gains, because some people eventually succeed in the farming, but because of knowledge arrogance, they get to make less capital revenue from what they've invested into. Then we've got inconsistent government policies. Now, this administration is promising to improve it. We'll just expect that things change for the best on that angle. But if the government policy is not adequate, it kind of discourages investment in a particular sector. And the agriculture sector had been hit the hardest from inconsistent policy in Nigerian runs of affairs. Now, how do you now profit from investing into it? Because, of course, you want to invest into it. How do you profit, right? There are three key parts you can profit from. But in the meantime, as I'm already approaching the tail end of my own presentation, in the next 10 to 15 minutes, I will be wrapping up my own presentation. So if you've got questions, if you're on YouTube and you want to ask your questions, drop it. I can see some show of solidarity on YouTube, right? Of course, that's our comrade, Build the Youth, Build the Nation, right? I just want to inform everyone that once we get to the question and answer, prepare your questions, write it down somewhere. Once the time is made available, you will be allowed to ask your questions, right? And if you're on YouTube, you can put them in the comment section. We'll answer them when we get to that question and answer period. We've also got okay Isaiah, who is following what we are doing by affirming okay to what we are saying. And then we've got Jency Kafilat, who is having challenges with the network from our quarters. So, but if you have questions, that's how we're going to display your question and answer them when the time is right. Now, going back to what we are discussing, understanding how to profit from investing. To profit from investing, typically you have to maximize your yield, right? You need to use good agricultural practices to improve soil health, manage pest disease, prune your tree for optimal growth. You guys, some people say, don't cut that tree. No, don't cut the tree. Don't cut the tree. Let's cut it. No, don't cut it. Don't cut the tree. If you cut the tree, what will happen? You would put the products in danger. That's not how it works, right? You see, when you prune your tree, right, you are opening it up for better expansion. It's going to improve. It's going to grow bigger. It's going to grow wider, right? You have to prune, and there are periods for it. You don't just prune anyhow. Pruning is injuring your tree. You need to understand, right? Pruning means you're injuring the tree. Right, it's a wound. Each time you're cutting it, it's a purposeful wound that is built to improve yield on your projects. Right. So when you actually prune your trees, you open it up to improvement, and it grows better afterwards. So when you prune, you're literally giving that tree an injury. So you have to do that at the right time, else you may even kill the tree in the process. So there are periods to prune and all of that. So maximize yield by your soil health, put your soil health in good practices, particularly for cocoa farmers. If the soil is bad, you see it in your cocoa. That's just the truth. It's as simple as that. Your soil is bad, you feel it in the cocoa. The soil is good, you see it in your cocoa. And that's the truth. Now, manage your pest as well. Cocoa has a lot of pest issues. You have to find a way to manage it as much as possible and then improve for optimal growth. So if you can maximize your yield, pay attention to it, it's going to come back as a blessing to you. Reduce your costs. I don't know how you do it, but it's very important, right? There are many ways to improve cost, and it's not one size fits all for cashew, cocoa, and oil palm. It's not the same for all of them. What you do to reduce cost in cocoa is not the same thing you do to reduce cost in cashew and oil palm. They have similarities, yes, but they are not all one size fits all system. So learn to reduce cost. Reduce your cost on labor, reduce your cost on inputs, so that you don't spend excessively. Because if you spend excessively, it's going to jeopardize the percentage of return you're going to be seeing after a certain duration of time. Sell to the right buyers. Now, how do you sell to the right buyers? You look for the right buyers. Be careful of people that want to just exploit. There are many in this particular parts of the country, right? There are many because they are there to come and tell you as a farmer, you need money, they give it to you because they realize that you are literally manifesting the signs that you need money. And so they will literally give you the money, and then with the mind to trap you with your products. So kindly please select the right buyers. Don't sell because you're hasty. If you need money, go and loan money. If you need to go and borrow, particularly when your product is getting to maturity, don't go and be selling your product before your product is ready, right? Because usually you can get ripped off. And if you'll be selling your product before it is ready, make sure that you look at the buyer very well and put the buyer to a condition that if the market conditions at the time of harvest changes, you have to respect that conditions. If the buyer says, yes, he respects that, no problem. When the buyer is not going to respect or prevailing market prices at the time of harvest, then you don't need to do business with that buyer, right? So you have to be very careful with who you select as buyers so that you don't lose all your profits to middlemen in the agricultural sector. They are very, very vicious. You can hear how Dangote was saying that there are cartels in the oil and gas sector. Trust me, the cartel in the cocoa, the cartel in the cocoa, cashew, oil palm space too is significant. Now, I don't know whether they are significant as the one Dangote was referencing in his session when it was being interviewed, but I know they are very, very vehement and they go diabolical, even at some great lengths, particularly if they realize that you just may be blocking their profit margin. So you have to have a very, very sound principles to ensure that nobody cheats you out, right? I've heard of cases where middlemen actually come and use diabolical means to have you sell your product to them. I've heard of cases like that. I've not seen, but I've heard of, right? So it's very, very important that you don't jeopardize your success by being hasty with your sale. Select the right buyers and you will come out successful investing into these commodities and products, particularly. Now that I've handled this, now I want to address the last part, which is how do you get 500% return from these trade commodities? Now, this is the key part. And we're going to be a bit mathematical with all of this, right? We'll be a bit mathematical with it. All right. So, if you're going to be buying land in Ogun State right now per acre, it's quite varied. So we're not going to add the value of land to it because it's varied. While in some places in Ogun State, you get land for as low as 400,000 per acre. In some other places, you will be getting it as high as 1.5 to 2 million per acre. Now, I'm not going to go into details of why those places are expensive or not. It's beyond the scope of this conversation. But you should know that different environments have different attraction. So, of course, it affects the pricing of those places. However, land can cost from as low as 400,000 per acre to as much as 2 million naira per acre in rural environments, right? And it's something that you just have to be aware of. Now, we're not going to use that land. We're not going to use land value as a factor as we are calculating this whole system. We would use the variable cost. So setting up a cocoa farm, for example, now, if you set up a cocoa farm in the first year, you should have as much as 700,000, 600,000 reserved minimum to go into cocoa farming, particularly right now. And when you're going to, with that budget of 800,000 per acre, you are not going to be employing a full-time staff. At least a full-time farm hand you can't employ, because right now a farm hand costs you an average of 50 to 80,000 naira per month. So if you even employ that farm hand for as brief as 6 months, you're already looking at close to 3 to 500,000 per for 6 months you grab. So you can understand that you can't just spend 500,000 out of 800,000 on labor alone. It doesn't make sense, because you're still going to get inputs, you're still going to get seedlings, and all these things are very important. You don't joke with them. So you're going to be using contract staff system to make sure that you keep your budgets around 800,000 minimum budget. But if you now don't mind, yes, you can now go high, because you can actually spend as much as 1.2 million in the first year. It depends on the location you're farming at. And this is non-irrigated farm. If you're adding irrigation to it, you can go as high as 1.5 to 2 million per year. Now, but the first year is where you spend that most money from. That first year is where you spend the most money. Now, the second year for cocoa, with the current prevailing circumstances in the country, you need around 350,000, average to 400,000 to maintain that farm yearly. Now, you are going to be maintaining this farm with that value yearly. However, the second year is delicate because they are just finding their balance, right? And they are just getting stronger. And then you're going to spend that and be careful. You still give them a lot of time in the second year compared to the third year. The second year, you're going to be very present on the farm, but third year, you'll be less present on the farm. Then the third year ending, fourth year, you start seeing level of harvest it's going to be small because it's still growing. It's not yet so big. It doesn't have a lot of branches and a lot of stem and a lot of how will I call it, roots yet to gain a lot of ground. So the harvest may be minimal, might not be as high as you want it, but that's why we don't count the third, fourth year as a significant commercial period of harvest. To start commercial harvest for cocoa at 5-6 years, right? That's when we do commercial, even though the harvest will start around 3-4 years, depending on the variety you're planting. So let's put it in mind. Let's give a benchmark of 1.5 million in the first year and a benchmark of 50,000 for the next 9 years, right? So at the end of the day, we're going to have to do the calculation together, right? We'll do the calculation of that money together. If you're with your calculator, you can join me. 1.5 million average money in the first year, right? Right. That's what you're spending 50,000 every year, averagely, provided that the climate remains stable, right? Now, Nigeria may change, may improve or may have more issues, but the beauty there is, since the problem Nigeria had been facing had been increasing, surprisingly, the profit from cocoa farming had also been improving. So I want us to focus too much on what may change in the future, because largely the profit also usually change alongside with it as much as possible. So let us now do like 1.5 plus 50,000 for every subsequent year up until the 10th year. That's for 9 years, 50,000 and then 1.5 million. By the time you're doing that calculation, you'll be having something around 4.65 million, right? Now, after you've done that, this is how you do efficient projections in farming. Now, there will still be details to it. However, let's still go on with it. Now, after you've now done that 1.5 in the first year and 350,000 for the second to the 10th year, right? Now, you now have to put the contingency fee. When I mean contingency fee, that's emergency and contingency fee. You have to put that there. And I usually call this fee 25% of every money you've calculated for the first 10 years, right? Why I say that is because a lot of things change in that period and you may not be able to account for it. So you always have 25% of that value. If you have 25% of the total value we've calculated, initially we've done 4.65 million for year 1 to year 10, right? And now add contingency fee of 25%, you're looking at 1 minute, please. You're looking at an average addition of 1.1 million in addition as a contingency and emergency fee, right? When we add that to the overall money, we have 5.8 million, right? And that's what you, right, have to contend with as much as possible in terms of 10 years accumulated investment into cocoa as a product. Now, I'm not going to use the high note of cocoa right here. You know, I said this year cocoa had abnormal value, right? And even a tonnage was bringing as much as 12 to 20 million to some people, right? And a tonnage comes from 1.5, averagely 1 acre of land. And you're going to spend, that means if 1.5 is giving you 1 ton, 1 acre is giving you average 0.7, 0.7 tonnage after the 5th year, right? So from the 5th year to the 10th year, you're going to be looking at a revenue of around 0.7 tonnage per acre, right? By the time you make times that by 5, you're looking at 3.5 tonnage per acre. Abby. Now, let's do an average value of this, right? I'm not going to use the high notes. As I said, I'm not using that 12 million to 20 million because, like I said, this year was a very, very unique year in cocoa value chain. So I'm not going to lose. What about next year becomes normal, right? And it doesn't, the supply chain is not affected to the point where prices go abnormal. And usually I'm going to use fair case scenario, not worst case, right? Because we've not even seen worst case in a while in cocoa. We've only seen average and best case scenario. So the average case scenario is, let's say you are able to sell the cocoa at around between 4 and 6 million per tonnage. 4 and 6 million per tonnage. For you to even sell at 4 and 6 million per tonnage, you can't sell to supply agent to. I won't lie to you, there are different people in the value chain that buys product. There's supply agents, there's the aggregator, there's processors, there's exporters. You need to know their differences. Please, I'm not talking about supply agent though. Supply agent will never give you 4 million for a tonnage. What they may give you during the period when the product was even as high as 12 million. But it's even they give 6 million at the time when the product was 12 million, it's a rip-off, right? But that is who they are. Supply agents are rip-off system. They rip people off, they rip farmer off. That's the reason why farmers don't benefit so much from what they do. So please do not consider them. If you're going to cocoa farming, please join a credible association so that you can have access to aggregators, not even just aggregators, big time aggregators and exporters and then processors, so that you can sell directly to them. It doesn't matter how small your cocoa is. There's always, you can come together as an association and sell to processor directly. And when you sell to them directly and your product is good, what I'm calculating here would work for you, right? It will work extensively for you. Now, it's an average of 4 to 6 million for the harvest per time. And if that is the case, it means that 3.5 ton in the 5 years after maturity would give you, just 1 minute, please. We're always using calculator together. Please, if you have any issue you want to clarify, you can use the comment section on YouTube to justify that as much as possible. And I'll be willing to listen, because, as I said, we all came here to understand how real the 500% is, right? So if 5.8 million is your total money spent in the first 10 years, and just the 5 years post maturity or post commercial production amount 3.5 ton for you, right? If you're using the low point of 4 million naira, right, you're looking at around 14 million naira is what you'll be gaining as revenue in that first 10 years. That's 5 years post maturity plus the period of gestation and the maturity. Now, if you're using the low point of 4 million naira, or if you're using the low point of, or you're using the average point of 6 million naira per tonnage, right, you're going to be looking at as high as 21 million. And I'm not saying this thing that this is not projections. I'm thinking about what is real in the sector. And I said, please don't compare me with supply agents. I'm not talking about supply agents. Those people rip people off, and they don't have much. They borrow maybe 200,000 or 500,000 from agencies like Lapo, you grab microfinance bank, and then they come and rip you off, and then they sell it at better value within a day. They will do that like every day for the whole week, and they will be gaining as much as 15-20% return on your edge. That's what those people are. I'm talking about if you're selling directly to processors. That one I'm using as example in this instance, right? So if you're selling if you're spending 5.8 million, right, and you are selling at 14 million, right, it means that your own output, right, will be as your return on that business will be as high as almost say 200, almost 20%, right? While if you're at 21 million, you're looking at almost 400% return on cocoa alone, right, in the first 10 years. And I was explaining this thing because I said investment is not something you calculate in terms of annual, particularly you're in the perennial cash crop space. You don't calculate this as an annual thing, because if you're in perennial cash crop space, you have to first of all invest your time in building something into something that is valuable, right? And after you build, allow that thing that you build to mature enough to give you peace of mind. And that's why we're using 10 years as the benchmark for this investment scheme. Because, as I said, it's here, it will not bring you future, right? It is calculated look into building your future and investing that gives you the opportunity you want. And this is just for cocoa in itself, right? I'm going to go into cashew, but I want to tell you something that some people actually spend less than 5.8 million in 10 years on cocoa. I won't lie to you. Some people actually spend less than that, far less than that. It's just to determine how good you are with reducing your cost of operation. Not everybody is good at reducing their cost of operation. Some people are really bad at managing costs. But of course, I can also blame some people because Nigeria is changing, and so is the indices for farming changing as well. Now, going into cashew now, I can tell you a lot about cashew because I have cashew farms, right? I have acres of cashew farms. So I can tell you cashew a whole lot because something you spend that much time in, right? We've done biodata capture for multiple organizations. We've penetrated the field severally. So if I think about cashew, that is because it's a real data. Cashew, unlike cocoa, is cheaper, right? With as much as 1 million naira, I don't know what you're doing. You plant cashew in 1 year. And that's if you know your way around it, you can even spend less, right? But even if you don't know, if you're not really an expert in knowing your way around everything, you actually will spend averagely 1 million, and that's it. And you can manage cashew farm with as low as 300,000 per year. It depends on how well you know how to it. Although if you're only having 1 acre, maybe it may be a little bit difficult to use 300,000. But if you have multiple farm, right, multiple acres of land, dedicating 300,000 per acre per year would work for a cashew farm. Now, if you now do that for the next 10 years, right, you find a way to limit your budget annually to 300,000 per acre, right? That will give you a value of 3 times 9. For 9 years, 300,000 averagely for 9 years will give you around 2.7 million naira expenses plus the 1 million you spend in the first year. Now, please, if you have issues with these numbers, ask your questions and then call message on YouTube, or when the time is right, you can raise up your hand on WhatsApp and ask your questions, because as I said, we are simultaneously running this both on WhatsApp and on YouTube at the same time. Now, that means your total cost for 10 years is around 3.7 million averagely. Compared to cocoa, you can see that is a bit lower, right? And that's cashew. It's cheaper than cocoa as a commodity. Now, looking at 1 ton, 1 acre of cashew, you can literally generate 1 ton from an acre from the 6th, 7th year. So, and of course, even more than 1 ton after the 8, 9, 10 years, right? So, averagely would peg the commercial sales of 1 acre over a 5-year period at 5 ton, right? At 5 ton. Now, that is the list I'm giving you. But the high value of it could be as high as 8 ton in the first 10 years. Unlike cocoa, cashew is not as costly as cocoa itself. This year, cashew got as high as 2 million, while it was as low as 1.2 million. So it got as high as 2 million and low as 1.2 million. So what we would use as our benchmark is 1.5 million average. That's what we use as our benchmark. And cashew did not have abnormal price this year. It was fairly okay because it fluctuates up and down based on exchange rate and other factors, and which happens every year. So I won't minus anything from cashew this year because cashew was relatively within the way you expect it to work, unlike cocoa that had some offshoots. So by the time you do that calculation of 1.5 for a medium and a low harvest point of 5 ton, you're looking at around 7.5 million in revenue. And if you're using a high point of 8 ton times 1.5 per tonnage, you're looking at around 12 million. So 7.5 to 12 million is what you're expecting in the first 10 years by investing 3.7 million into your cashew farm, right? And when you look at that very well, you realize that you can get as much as 200% return to almost 400% return also from cashew within a space of 10 years, right? So as I said, what we are saying, we're not speaking, how will I call it? We're not trying to just use what to bring you. These are real things that are possible. If you think what I'm saying is not strong enough for you, go and meet an aggregator, any of these aggregators that does cashew and cocoa, and try to sit down and calculate 10 years of opportunity with them. What I'm saying will make a whole lot of sense for you, right? I have worked with them a whole lot, not because I want to, but because, of course, I've done data capture in the value chain. So I've met a lot of them. I'm also into cashew farming as a practice. So I know what I'm telling you, and it's real, right? I have a lot of mentors, I have a lot of partners that are in this space. So what I'm telling you is a fact, not a browsable content, not something you will see on the internet. It's something that you see in real time. And in case you feel like, okay, is there a place where we can verify any of these things? Yes, there's a platform called Afex, right? For those that are used to agriculture, there's a platform we call Afex, and Afex is a commodity trading platform. You can go there to check the prices of these things as much as possible. Of course, if you don't know how to go there, I can send you the link and you can access it. You verify the prices I'm confirming to you right here and now. Oil palm, which is the last thing I'll be looking at right now before we move ahead. Oil palm, as I say, the demand is locally is high, but I'm not going to use oil palm as what you harvest on the tree, right? I'm going to use oil palm in terms of what you process out of it, because the demand is local, and so you have to make it into oil or something to sell, to have considerable value. So from a tree, right? Now, this oil palm, I have to emphasize that I don't have an oil palm farm. So the data I'm using right now is the data I got from a colleague that has an oil palm farm. I don't have an oil palm farm. I only have a cashew farm. And I have a lot of people within the cocoa and oil palm space. The oil palm I'm using for is the data I got from my colleague that does oil palm, right? From an acre of oil palm, right, you can get as much as over 20 gallons, 25-liter gallons, right, of oil from that farm. Over 25 gallons of oil. And that's not all, right? You still also can get, if you can sell your kernels, there's also value in the kernel as well. Over 20 gallons. Some farms can have as high as 40 gallons, while some farms can have as low as 20 gallons. So I'm using 20 because it was telling that the average, if I'm even going to do anything whatsoever at all, I should use the low point. And I'm using the low point now on this session for you guys so that you can understand what the benchmark cost is. Now, as at this February, March, which is the low point for cocoa oil palm in Nigeria, red palm oil, that's the red palm oil, right? 25 liters of palm oil was going for as low as 27,000 naira per 25 liter, right? I think it was cheaper in January. There was statements that they sold it for as low as 23,000 in January, but as of February that I have actual data for, it was sold at 27,000 per 25 liter. And if you're using a benchmark of 20 minimum gallons, or so 20 minimum of jerry cans, 25 liter jerry can from an acre, you're looking at 540,000 naira from your farm, right? Now, that is that alone. But he's saying that some farm that follows that have 88 tree stand per acre, and that gets the hybrid, that super gene, right? They can get as much as 40 gallons from that same farm for their palm oil. Super gene that have super gene on their farm, they can get minimum 25 kg jerry can from their farm, which you're looking at around 1.08 million as at 27,000. Right now, I'm getting a report right now that oil palm currently right now in the market per 25 jerry can gallon is now around 35,000 naira. Now, I understand the retail value. Now, if there isn't that retail value now, you'll be looking at around 1.4 million per ton. And this starts for you, starting, according to my friend, from the 4th year, right? Now, from the 4th year down to the 6th year at 1.4 averagely, you're looking at 8.4 million averagely, and that's it. Now, let's now come to the cost of setting up oil palm farm. In the first year, right, oil palm, unlike others, is a bit sweet and bitter. I don't know how to explain that English very well for you. And why I'm saying that is because in the first year, you'll be looking at averagely $1 million naira to set up oil palm farm. But subsequently, you only need to spend the maintenance fee for the next 4 years, 5 years, particularly for oil palm. And you're looking at 400,000 every year to maintain your oil palm farm. Now, that oil palm 400,000 is not to the 9th year. This is where oil palm differs from others. In the year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5, 400,000, which amounts to around 1.6 million, right, is what you may look at spending. However, by the time you now look at the 6th, 7th year, you don't need to spend that much because you can only weed only during harvest every year. You don't need to weed every time. During harvest is enough. And by doing that alone, you can reduce that annual cost to 200,000 per year in maintaining your farm. And by the time you do that for the next 5 years, you look at 1 million. So you're looking at a total of 3.6 million in cost of producing your farm in 10 years, managing the farm in 10 years. Like I said, these things can still be reduced if you have better approach on labor. You can still reduce this value as much as possible. Now, we've already talked about one opportunity from oil palm, which is palm oil. Hope you know you get vegetable oil from it as well. There are companies now in Nigeria that you can sell your kernel to, and then they buy the kernel because of vegetable oil. And I didn't calculate that value because I couldn't get the reports I needed on time to add to this session. But from palm oil alone, you're looking at 8.4 million in 10 years after spending 3.6 million, which puts your revenue around 300, almost 300% return in 10 years. Now, this is excluding the value of vegetable oil, that how that comes and adds to your investment opportunity as much as possible. So with that stated, I've explained how all these products can get you the tonnage returns that we estimated from the beginning. And I'm saying that because this is not something I'm giving you as an external member that is not in the sector. I have cashew farm. If you are interested, you can book an inspection and I'll take you to our farm. You'll see our cashew thriving and growing well. We've been into cashew value chain now for 5 years. We started with offering our service in it, and then we planted our own. And our owns are already at harvestable level already. They are already at their maturities, and we are expecting our first major harvest this year, December. So what I'm telling you is not something I'm not involved in. If you want to confirm the things, you are free. We can give you an inspection on our own farm, and you can see all of these things. And if you need people to be like your mentor and guidance, more people that will guide you on how to go about these things, you just let me know. I would attach you to veterans and people that have spent decades in both cocoa farming and oil palm farming that can work alongside in the agricultural space, that you want to leverage their knowledge to build something concrete in. Please spend money to get money. I'm saying it. Please be willing to spend money to get money. No, saying that someone can give you something for free does not equal to the fact that you don't have to pay value. Learn to pay value to get value. And it's very, very important that you don't mistake that in your own personal endeavors as much as possible. So that's typically for my quarters. As regarding my presentation, I hope you've been able to get something concrete from it. And I'm glad that you made out time to join me to participate in this session. Thank you so much. You can, of course, if you're on YouTube, you can be sharing. I did some webinar some days ago on how to have remarkable sales in agriculture, how to build remarkable sales in agriculture. I did that in the future. And I think this yes, good day. My network glitched me out again. Sorry. Comedy, Cordy, can you hear me? Mr. Quadri, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I can hear you very well. I can hear you. I can hear you.
Yes, yes. I'm done with my session. I don't know if you got that.
Lóko dídí ṣá. Ká ní sẹ́kítírì bá wà ń bí sìn, àgbàgbọ́ yóò ràn ẹ́ dáadáa. Lẹ́tà tó.
That's fine. I think Comrade Quadri is currently busy. So I think I'll just go straight to the questions myself, right? And I'll just attend to the questions right away. And then when Comrade Quadri comes back, we will be able to pick up from that. And those on WhatsApp, kindly gear up to ask your questions as well. Someone said, how do you, from the YouTube, they said, how do you handle issues with herdsmen on the farm? So this is a very unique topic, and thank you, Adesonya Adetayo, for that question. How do you handle issues with herdsmen on the farm? Herdsmen is a menace, and I won't lie to you. Surprisingly well, our governors, if there's one thing the Southwest governors have done that is impressive enough, is that they've created a security network to fish out these people. It used to be very bad about 3, 4 years ago. However, things have drastically improved a whole lot, and we are recording very, very low issues around herdsmen. That's one. Two, community-wide security is something that is building around several communities. So it's not uncommon to go to a town and see that they have a community-wide security. So if they see cows being let on the loose, and they tell each other, and then they quickly report them to local authorities and local chieftains, and they are able to quickly handle them as soon as possible. This is something that we've seen across several communities already. However, because you're in the cashew and oil palm and cocoa value chain, you only need to worry about these maintenances for the first 3 to 4 years. Particularly for cashew and cocoa, you only need to worry about that for the first 2, 3 years. While for oil palm, the first 3 to 4 years, that's four years. Yes. After you're done, you don't have to worry about this. For anything from year 4 upward, you don't. This is no more a problem you should worry yourself with, as your community would have been above a level where these cows and the rest can have impact. But nonetheless, as I said, there's been a downward trend in disturbance from these quarters. So I don't think that should significantly discourage you from going into farming any of the commodities that have been discussed today. Oak State generally have a very low penetration rates when it comes to herdsmen activities. All right. So I guess that answered Adesonya's questions, as he had noted a thank you. Thank you so much for being part of us, Adesonya. So on WhatsApp, is there any questions? Are there any questions that could be noted from WhatsApp? If you've got questions, you could unmute and kindly ask. All right. Introduce yourself first. Let's know your name, and then you can ask your question. Are you asking a question? I can hear you if you are. I noticed you're unmuted, but there are no questions coming up. All right. I didn't get what you said. Can you kindly speak up? Because we're having questions on YouTube as well. I think at this time I just asked another question. While I wait for WhatsApp audience to ask their question, I will take the second questions from Adesonya Adetayo. It says, for oil palm, what location is most suitable in Ogun State and is near to market or aggregators? Is Jebugbo suitable for such? Yes, I believe I've had projects in Jebugbo before. I've had projects in Jebugbo before, and I can tell you that there are a substantial number of oil palm in Jebugbo, and I think it's okay. Now, when talking about oil palm particularly, to be candid, oil palm, anywhere in Ogun State to select for oil palm is great. And I'm saying that not because of an assurance per se, because you still have to do your soil test, which you can easily do yourself. You don't even need to get someone to do a soil test, right? We sell some test kits that you could easily read yourself and do your soil test. But many places in Ogun State are actually very, very viable for oil palm as a product. And then the market itself, right, it is extensive because it doesn't matter where you do it in Ogun State. I don't see you having challenge with markets because even locally, for example, I was in a Lauro was in the last 2 months, and oil or palm oil was sold the same price it was sold in Lagos for me. Well, I was buying palm oil in Lagos as at I think I was getting it per bottle for around 1,001. Yes, I think so. And in Lauro, surprisingly, it was the same price. So when you look at those dynamics, right, I don't think there are any significant differences to having your oil palm in Ijebu or any part of Ogun State compared to the other. I think the only thing you just want to be sure is after your soil test, does it have the appropriate number of organic or nutrients in the soil to support what you're trying to do. And I think once you can verify that the soil is good, I think you have no problem. You can do that, have your commodity there. And also, another thing you could look at outside the market, right? You could look out for is the possibility for labor. Labor is another big problem in the agricultural sector that a lot of people battle with a whole lot. So if labor is proximal and easy to access for you, and the soil is good, I think you shouldn't worry so much about market for oil palm, and then just do what you want to do. All right. And of course, I really appreciate your feedback where you say it is worth the time. We're glad we're able to give you a presentation that is worth your time. Thank you so much. Are there any questions from WhatsApp? Anyone want to ask a question from WhatsApp? Kindly state your name first, and then you can ask your question.
I want to ask if we can get video recording of this proceeding so that we can make reference to it in the future.
All right, thank you so much for that.
Did you hear me, sir?
I heard you. You were asking if there could be a recording of this session so you could have access to it in the future. That's fine. Thank you so much for your question. This session is currently live streamed on YouTube, right? All you need to do is go to YouTube and search for Adini Ishuremi, Business Reality with Adini Ishuremi, and I'm certain you will see this recording. It's already there on YouTube, right? We like currently live stream it. Some people actually followed on YouTube because the WhatsApp link was specially reserved for delegates. And so only delegates have access to WhatsApp group, but every other person had been following the program on YouTube. And we've actually seen about close to almost 15 to 20 people have joined the YouTube session today. So of course, you can always go to YouTube and go and watch a live recap of the session on YouTube. Thank you so much. On YouTube, as I said, to locate me on YouTube, you just have to go to Business Reality with Adeni Ishuremi, or you search Adeni Ishuremi on YouTube and you will see my channel, subscribe to it, and then look for the video you so much desire to see. All right. So I think that's that. I think I've answered your question. Is there any other questions coming in from WhatsApp? Is there any question coming in from WhatsApp again? Hello? Is there any question coming in from WhatsApp? Watermelon farming. This is watermelon farming.
Yes, sir.
Interesting. As lucrative as watermelon is, it's beyond the scope of this project. However, it's an annual farming project that requires adequate time and has a vibrant market. But maybe what will happen is, if you can take down this business line, you can chat me privately on WhatsApp, and then probably when I have a resource that can help you farm watermelon, I will share with you. All right. So you can take down 081 1081 2605. Right. That's my business line. Kindly only use for WhatsApp for now, as I rarely see calls on it. So take down my number on WhatsApp and leave me a message. Then I will send you one or two resources that would help you with watermelon farming. But it's beyond the scope of this current session. All right. So the number again is 081 1081 2605. I hope that helps. Thank you so much. Any other questions as we plan to wrap up this session?
Hello?
Yeah.
Hello, sir. Good morning, sir.
Yeah, good morning. Your name, sir?
Morning, sir. Yeah, I'm Bilo Olarikon. It has been a very interesting session, and I appreciate you. I appreciate your time, your effort, and your knowledge a lot. May your knowledge never dry, sir. May your knowledge never dry, sir.
Amen.
Sir,
Amen.
I have a question.
That's fine.
I have a question. My question is based on, in as much as we are talking about the profits, making profits, you made mention of some, let me talk about the cashew. just like when we talk about varieties now, I know there's a lot of GMO products outside. Like now, a lot of people are
Then,
into GMO
láti lè jẹ́ kí
seed for planting, just to because it's fast. When we talk about the fast production, whereby you fast harvest, whereby you have increase in harvest, a lot of things, a lot of advantages they tell us. But in as much as I don't think we have enough good research that will tell us about maybe the bad side of it.
All right. So you're hoping I can shed more light to the. Are you there?
GMO seed.
Yes. You're hoping I can shed some light. You're hoping I can shed some light on the challenges and the opportunities and problems that comes with GMO seeds, genetically modified crop.
Exactly, sir.
That's okay. That's
Yes,
okay.
sir.
So this is what I'll tell you about GMO, right? It's a good news and both a bad news. It depends on how you see it, right? It's both a good and a bad news, right? It just depends on how you see it. I'm not gonna emphasize too much on GMO, right? But it has good and bad side, right? It just depends on the level of which you're coming to it from. Now, in the fight for food security, right? GMO has a role to play. They are genetically modified because they've been altered at their fundamental level, at their genetic level, to improve yield with minimal resources, right? So you plant a GMO crop, for example, or you plant a GMO maize, for example, right? They tend to be bigger, more drought and disease resistant, and then they are more guaranteed of success than the normal yield, right? So challenges that plague a normal average yield that you're used to is not going to largely plague a genetically modified crop, right? So, and that's it. And now there are different GMOs. There are GMOs for tree crops, there are GMOs for annual crops. There are mangoes that don't have seeds, right? There are mangoes in some part of the world that don't have seed at all, no seed at all. There are oranges that have no seeds. There are different genetically modified crop out there. As I said, it's both good and bad news. Now, the challenges I will tell you a little bit about GMO is they usually don't have almost large chunk of GMOs don't have the particular ability to regenerate. So if a country does not have a strong infrastructure, right, and does not build their own research system, they may be facing a drought in planting materials in the future, right? And that planting materials is important for you to be able to keep your production sustainable. So, for example, before GMO start becoming a thing in this country, when you plant a maize, you can take that maize and plant it again, take that maize and plant it again, take that maize and plant it again. These are how it has always been in the whole farming space. But with the introduction of GMO, eventually you're going to pick a seed and plant it and it won't grow. Or you may pick 100 seed and plant it and only 10 or 20 will grow. Those are some of the pitfalls from GMO cultivation. Now, there are several propagandas around GMO, like there are also some general end of the world predictions from GMO. However, what I would say is it's both good and bad, and it depends on how you're seeing it. Now, is there where we need to be right now? I don't think Nigeria has a lot of options not to be there at the moment, as food security is danger. It is deficient at the moment at dangerous levels, right? So I don't know if the government has a lot out there to prevent GMOs. I don't even think they can stop the introduction of GMOs, as they are facing acute or very toxic levels of food insecurities. So I think it's something that would thrive irrespective of that. Now, how you participate now is largely your choice in it. But also, farmers are also looking for whatever will make them profitable at the shortest point period. So these are also things that is increasing the adoption of this commodity. While some are fighting against it, a whole lot of people are welcoming it to their hands. And the outcome is you and I will be the one eating it when it's out. So let's just hope that the country puts in the best practices to watch how they are. And talking about research, truly, there are not a lot of research fueling the dangers of GMOs, as most courses out there are largely out of fear and doomsday theories. However, there's not a lot of concrete research that shows that many GMO seeds and products actually are very harmful to human existence. So that's all I can say about GMOs. As I said, it's beyond the scope of what we've discussed, but I'm happy to answer the question as well. All right. Thank you so much. I hope I was able to answer your question, Mr. Bello.
Thank you very much, sir.
You're most welcome. You're most welcome. All right. So I think our 2 hours is a wrap. Are there any more questions? I can take maybe one or two more if there is, and then we can wrap up this session and all go back to having a beautiful day. Hello. Your name, please. Your name, please. Your name, please. Your name and your question, sir.
Used for dairy production, and there are some things that they are used for farm. So, can you give us about the cassava species that are used for flour production?
Okay, to be candid, I think the questions are not that directly targeted to what we are seeing right now, but I'm just going to answer that the briefest way I can. Now, the cassavas that are used for flour productions are largely the vitamin A varieties, TML varieties, TMF419 and the rest. They are the ones that are popularly being used for cassava flour at the moment. However, or any varieties that have vitamin A nutrients imbued into the stem and its production are just good for flour, right? And they are the ones that actually matures within 8 months to 10 months, right, averagely. So any of the vitamin A build will work. The TML4192 is also good as well. But as I said, this is beyond the scope of cassava. So does anybody have any questions relating to oil palm, cashew, and cocoa? If you do, kindly ask now before we wrap up the session. If you don't, you can always reach out to me to actually know more about that. If you want to get my number, it's on my presentation slide on YouTube. And you can go and check the numbers. Then you can also follow me on social media to ask your personal questions. So we don't keep every other person waiting and in the light of questions that are not within the purview of what we discussed today. So I think that will be a wrap of today. Mr. Quadri, can you hear me? Are you there? Mr. Quadri, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Mr. Demi.
So I'm done with my session. I think I will allow you to do the wrap up. Thank you.
Okay, the program of event, I think we are the moderator need to take over.
The moderator is not here. I don't think I've seen the moderator. Is not here. And so we can release everybody. It's already 2 hours. Mr. Cody, can you hear me? All right. So I think I will just wrap up, Mr. Cody, if that's fine by you. Thank you, everyone, for being present in today's call. I do hope you have a wonderful day yourself. All right. Bye. Have a wonderful day, everyone. Bye. Yes, I will just let it go like that. Have a wonderful day, everyone. Have a wonderful day, wonderful day, wonderful day. Bye. You can take your leave now.
Thank you so much.
You're most welcome. You're most welcome. You're most welcome. Bye. Bye, everyone. Have a wonderful